Let's get on with the glow up.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to All Grown Up.
I'm Kate.
I'm Rach.
And I'm Mel.
Today, Melanie is going to be our third special guest. We're so excited to have her on. It's been a long time coming. So, Mel, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what you've been up to?
Oh my God, pressure's on. Okay. So my name is Melanie and I own a coaching business called Designer Body Fit. So basically what it is I coach women, all in Canada, pretty much everywhere right now. And basically I just teach them not only to look their best, but to feel their best. I kind of shifted a little bit from just physical attributes into a little bit of mental health lately because of everything that's been going on. So that's been a huge focus of mine with my clients. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to. I've just been working on that, and then I work full time, but that's my baby. That's my life. So yeah.
That's where your heart is.
Yeah. That's where my heart is, man. Like just talking about it, I can talk for ages. So if I just keep like rambling, just feel free to be like, hey,
no,
I'm talking.
It's all good. It's all good. I think last time we talked, we were still working together, maybe shortly after that, but you're still working at the same place for the same company.
Yeah, so I'm still working there. I'm at a different location, but still there. Last time we talked, it was literally, I think I came back from vacation or something.
Yeah.
And I texted Rachel and I was like, I don't remember what I said. It doesn't mean like, oh, how's it been? Or I'm back or whatever. And she goes, okay, so I quit. And I'm like, what? And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah. And I think that was the last time that we pretty much, and then we like touched a little bit later on, but that was pretty much it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, we actually talked about that the other day. We had a different guest on and we were playing a game and it was like, never have I ever sent an email I didn't mean to send. And I was like,
yeah.
And that was me.
That's actually a video coming out tomorrow.
Yeah. But by the time this comes out,
yes,
it will already
yes.
But yeah, it's true.
That's so funny. Good
time. In the middle of the night.
Good time.
She quit by accident on purpose.
Yeah,
it was on purpose for sure.
I mean, it was coming. It was coming.
Mel knows.
Yeah,
it was building. Anyways,
yeah, fair enough.
With quarantine happening and all of that, I imagine it's been an awesome year for Designer Body. Yeah. How has it been?
Honestly, it's crazy. Like it's crazy. Like I remember being at like, maybe like 10 clients for the longest time. Like that was like where I felt comfortable, and that's like as much as I would grow. Like it just wasn't going anywhere. And randomly, like everything shuts down. And you'd think because people aren't working that,
they don't want to spend the money.
Yeah, but it's actually the opposite. Like the amount of people that reached out to me, I'm up to like 40 clients right now. So it like jumped. Like it was one day to another.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like wild, but I mean, it's exciting. Like one day I just hope to like for this to be my life, you know what I mean? But
of course,
it's exciting. It's just like growing and growing. And I have like this vision in my head and I'm like, I will get there. Like I will be that person,
you will. But you work so hard. Your work ethic is crazy.
That's awesome to hear. With that, with manifestation and making sure that you're setting your goals and getting to them, you'll get there.
And just like consistently putting out good vibes and good energy to everybody definitely comes around.
I know. I remember it when like I had just come back from vacation last March and quarantine came, and it was like I was hit so hard by the fact that I couldn't go to my gym.
Yeah.
And I would see your workouts and you'd be like outside, like working out like every day. And I'm just like, damn, I'm not doing that. I should do that. And it kind of inspired me. So I can definitely say that.
And then you got a whole gym in your apartment.
Yeah, now
I know. It looks so good. It looks so good. I messaged you the other day and I was like, oh my God, I love it. No, so cute. Honestly, it's more mental for me. Like we'll touch a little bit on that on my story and stuff, but like if I don't get a workout in, the rest of my day is just fucking horrible. I want to stab people in the face. Like I hate everyone. Like, you know, people look at me and they're like, oh, you're always so positive. And I'm like, girl, no, I'm not. If I don't get my workout in, I want to punch everybody. Like that's just, you know, for me, it's just, that's where I leave my stress. That's where I leave my anger. I leave it in the gym and then I walk away and I'm fucking positive Polly. You know what I mean? But until then, it's like, it's more mental for me. And that's what I keep trying to instill in people's heads right now. And it's like, yes, gyms are closed and that sucks, but it's like, get the hell over it. Get up and get moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the important.
Yeah. Like, what are you going to sit in a corner and cry? Like, no, get up, get moving. You have a sidewalk. Like, you know what I mean? So, but yeah.
Yeah. To touch like a little bit, I feel like I want to talk about these. Your booty bands.
Yeah.
I love that you made these little booty bands and I saw how great they were doing.
Yeah.
Why don't we touch base on those a little bit? Yeah.
So I had this wild idea where I was like, so my whole problem is I've tried so many different ones and I freaking hate when they shift up, like they slide. And so I had so many of my clients being like, you need to remove these workouts because the bands keep sliding. They're driving me nuts. Like just take these workouts out. And I was like, but you have no idea what it's doing for you. So I was like, okay. So I reached out to a manufacturer, super quiet about everything. I didn't tell anybody because I was like, I'm one of those people where if things fall through and I told the world, I'm going to feel so shitty. So I'm like, I'm not telling anybody. Reached out to a manufacturer. It was like a year in the making. Like people just think like these things are just like one day to another. It was like a full year back and forth. And then they would send me samples. The samples were horrible. Then I would send it back and it was like a nightmare. But then we finally came up with these ones and there's 3 resistances. So light, medium, and heavy. And they're not going to move, guys. They're like super thick and you put them on and those things are not fucking moving. So people were going nuts. So I launched it the first day. I had like a pre-sale. It did extremely well, way more than I thought it was going to be. So that was awesome. And then just every time I sign clients on, that's what they do. They purchase it for Christmas. I had people purchasing left, right, and center. So I'm like, yay. But it just makes me feel good. It makes me feel like, oh, like you trust me, you know?
Yeah, of course.
So,
that's awesome.
But yeah, so we did that. And then we have a couple new things coming, which I'm so excited about, but that'll be later on in the year, hopefully. But yeah, so exciting.
And also
big moves.
You've been busy.
Yeah, honestly, like my goal is to obviously like for this to be my life. So gotta hustle, you know what I mean? Like, gotta work.
That's nice to see it. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks.
So now that we've established that you're super successful and you're super driven and you're super positive and all of these wonderful things, why don't we hear the story about who you used to be and who was Melanie before who she is now?
Yeah.
Who stood before you?
Yeah. So I posted on IGTV basically talking about it and I'll talk about like everything. But anyways, let's start at the beginning. So long story short, I know Rachel knows a little bit about this, but I was that kid that was just like trouble. I was not a good kid. Okay. Like, I mean, better than most, but not the greatest. And it trickled all the way down to high school. So not the greatest kid. Like I'm talking, I wish I had pictures to show you guys, but it was like, I had bleach blonde hair at the top. The bottom half of my head was black. Like I just thought I was the coolest. I'd wear my hair up and like, it was just awful. I would smoke cigarettes every day of my life. Like it was just awful. But long story short, my parents were the type of parents where they were very like conservative. So like school ends at 2:45, you're home by 3:15. That's just the way it is, right? So I was like that my whole life. And then finally my parents, they got a cottage and they moved up. They would go up north every weekend. So I got a job. So I was like, listen, I can't go with you guys. So my dad was like, you know what? She's 19. Let's leave her at home alone. 19, guys, 19. So I'm like, oh, yay. Like I get to stay home alone. But the problem was because I was so sheltered, I went freaking nuts. So like I was home on the weekends and I'd call my mom and be like, hey, like, yeah, I'm just going to bed, getting dressed for the club. I have 16 people in my house. Like, it was just like, you know what I mean? So anyways, one day, so it just ended up it went from bad to worse. So one day it was like, we went out to a club. So I had come home from work one day and I was like, I called up my girlfriend and I was like, I don't feel like coming out tonight and I'm not feeling the greatest, whatever. And she was like, come on, like, oh my God. So it was during the Pan Am Games. Like, I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's like I call it the mini Olympics kind of thing. So it was back when it was in Toronto. So she goes, the Pan Am Games are in town. Like, let's go out. I'm sure like downtown is like crazy and whatever. So I'm like, okay, fine. I was like, give me half an hour. Let me get dressed. Let me meet you at your house. So met her at her house. We got plastered before we hit downtown, like plastered. So we head downtown and there's like lineups on lineups at every single club.
Right.
And
the good days.
Yeah, where we could all be beside each other. But that's a whole other conversation.
That's a whole other thing.
So don't get me started on that one. But so we found this one club, the Drake. We wanted to go to the Drake. And so she was like, this lineup's so long, we're never going to get in. So I saw a group of guys and they were speaking in Portuguese and I'm Portuguese. So I was like, watch this. So I go up to them, start talking to them in Portuguese, whatever. And they were like, come in with us. Long story short, one thing led to another. Woke up the next morning in my bedroom, don't remember anything. Like naked, don't remember anything, like disaster. So I was like, what's going on? And like when I woke up, I'm talking like shaking uncontrollably. Like my body went in like seizure mode. So I'm like crying, hyperventilating, freaking out. No recollection of what's going on. Like, no, how did I get home? What happened? No fucking clue. So I go take a shower, which was, you'll now know that was an awful thing to do, but I went to go take a shower and then I went downstairs, started cleaning everything up and my body would just not stop shaking. Like it was just like awful. So I sat on the couch after cleaning up and I just couldn't stop crying and I couldn't put two and two together. I was like, what is wrong with me? All I knew was that like, something bad happened. I just didn't know what it was. And so just like crying uncontrollably and whatever. And that's when I called my best friend at the time. And I was like, hey, I'm like, not sure what's going on. Like, I'm like, I remember bits and pieces, but I'm pretty sure I got sexually assaulted last night. And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, no, T, I'm like, honestly, I'm telling you, like, I could picture like bits and pieces, but it was very foggy. You guys, it's like you see in a movie and you see flashbacks and it's like very like just like foggy. It was like that. So I was like, no, I'm like, I'm telling you, like this, like I need to get out of here. I couldn't even breathe. She's like trying to calm me down and she's like, I'm coming to get you. I'm coming to get you. And I was like, no. I'm like, I'm gonna call my sister. So I call my sister. And she's like, I'm coming to get you. I'm like, I need to get out of this house. So I get in the car, drive to her house, sit down. Finally, I was able to speak like what happened. And I was like, I don't remember anything. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this and this happened. I'm like, I feel just like something really bad happened. I can't put two and two together. And she was like, we need to go to the cops. And I was like, I'm not going to the cops. Like, what are you talking about? Like, are you retarded? They're going to think I'm nuts. I drank too much. I was dressed like a whore. Like, I'm not going. Because that's your first instinct, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You feel like it was because I wore this or because I was too friendly or because I drank too much. Like, that's your first instinct. And you hear that in movies, but it's true, you know?
Or even that they're just not going to believe you or they're not going to do anything about it.
What are they going to do?
What are they going to do about it now?
Right? Yeah. And I know that now. And you'll, like, once I tell you the end of the story, you'll see what I mean. But that's what you think. You think, like, I'm just another girl. This has happened to so many, right?
Yeah.
And so, anyways, let's go to the cops. So I'm like, okay, fine. So we end up actually going to a police station and they put me in this little room and there was like a female cop and a male cop and they're both like so blunt and like just out there. Like they were like, what happened? Did he put his penis inside of you? And I'm like, already traumatized as is. And I'm like, great job. But okay.
Yeah, really.
So I'm like, so I'm like, you couldn't even be more like sweet about it, but whatever. So I was like, so this and this happened. I was like, this is what I remember and yada, yada. And I felt uncomfortable that there was a guy in the room too. I'm like, considering I just went through what I went through, why the hell are you in here? But that was like, So anyways, long story short, that all happens. And they're like, okay, well, we need to go to the hospital because you need to get a test done of everything to see if there was anything in there. So I was like, well, I showered. And they were like, what do you mean you showered? And I was like, what do you mean? What do I mean? I felt disgusting when I woke up the next morning. Like,
Right.
my first instinct is I want to shower. Like, you know what I mean? So that was like, well, that was your first mistake. It was just like the whole process was just very like
cutthroat,
cut and dry.
Yeah, like there was no like, how are you feeling? Like,
what can I do to make you feel calm,
it was just like
safe?
Yeah, no, it was awful. So anyway, so that was that. And then they were like, we're going to be really discreet about it and whatever, but we need people to go to your house to fingerprint and everything. So I'm like, okay, no problem. So they take me to the hospital first. So I'm sitting in the hospital waiting room in my pajamas with 2 police officers. So everyone's staring at me because everyone's like,
what did she do?
What did she do? Right? So I'm like, okay, guys, like, really? And then he's trying to have a conversation with me. I'm crying. It was just a mess. I'm like, oh my God. So then I go back to the house. Guys, I pull up to my street. There's like 17 cop cars, this big crime scene investigations van. Like, when I say, I was like, I walked in, I'm like, discreet? I'm like, this is discreet?
This is not discreet. This is not discreet at all.
Like, it was awful. Like, I remember just like my sister pulling up and she was like, what? She's like, we don't have to go there. Like, if you don't want to stop, because of course all my neighbors are outside, right? Yeah. Picture my parents are at the cottage, you guys. So no idea any of this is going on. And so I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm going to stop, but I'm like, I'm not going into that house. I was so traumatized that I'm like, it's not happening. I'm not going in there, you know?
Right.
But anyways, fast forward, we ended up so the news actually ended up reporting my story, so I ended up getting a call from a reporter and she goes, hey, I really want to report this because the 2 guys that assaulted me were very famous soccer players. So she's like, I really want to report this. And I was like, don't use my name, don't use my age, but you can report it because this needs to get out there, you know?
Yeah.
So she was like, okay. So she changed my name, changed my age. So all you'll be able to find is like my street address and my house and whatever. But anyways, fast forward a little bit later, my parents end up moving and I end up staying in Toronto and I end up going back to the detective's office. Long story short, you guys know the xoxo case about the guy who killed, he was like, basically he's a millionaire in Toronto and he was driving and he killed like 3 kids and a grandfather. Anyways, he ended up like, so that story. So his lawyer was actually my assaultant's lawyer. So I go into not the courtroom, I guess it's just like a room. So I go in and my lawyer is sitting there, which was the lawyer obviously paid by for the government because I'm a regular girl. Like, what am I going to, you know? So I walk in and this idiot was like, oh yeah, like this is his lawyer. And unfortunately, like, so originally they had made a search warrant where if they step into Ontario, they would get arrested immediately. So obviously that jeopardized their career because soccer, you travel all over the world. So you need to have access to come everywhere. So they had $1 million deals on the table that were being dropped because of this. Mm-hmm. So his lawyer, I think, dropped a little something. And so my lawyer was like, we need to drop this against him because there's no facts. Like, your alcohol level was so high that you basically could have gone through like alcohol poisoning. So, I mean, we have no facts. Like, it was just like so bad, guys. I was like, I remember my heart just like dropped and I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. What the hell do you mean that I can't follow through with it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so his got dropped and it was all over the news. Guys, imagine turning on CP24 and that's what you see. It's like,
of course, it's like PTSD
pictures. It was awful. And then honestly, at that point, I was like, I'm just fucking over it. So like, that was that. And then my parents moved to Barrie because they were like, I can't stand being in this house. And I was like, I'm not moving to Barrie. I was like,
yeah.
Guys, I'm like, my life is here. Like, you want to move me to freaking, so in my head, I'm like, country town. I'm like, what am I going to ride horses? Like, you know, that's what's going on in my head. So I ended up actually staying in Toronto and like bad just got worse. Like, I was drinking every day of my life and it turned into drinking on my own. So it went from partying to just drunk all the time. Like, I think when I finally realized like I need to get my shit together was when I would get paid and throw massive parties. So my paycheck was gone. So when it came to paying rent, you guys, I was like, I'm not going to eat for the next month because I can't afford to, you know?
No.
Yeah.
So it was like awful. So, but I think the point for me was when I woke up in bed one day with my door. I didn't live in the best area. I lived in Etobicoke. And like, if you guys know where, oh my God, it was like Eva Street, but it's like it's not a great neighborhood. So I lived there. But anyways, I woke up one day and I had my apartment door fully opened. Like anybody could have just walked in and just came to hang out. And I was in bed, like passed out cold. Like my job at the time, this was like 3 jobs ago, but my job at the time, I was the manager. And I remember like not showing up to open the store. And I remember getting calls from security being like, excuse me,
where are you?
I'm like hammered walking through the mall trying to like open. Anyways, that was the point where I was like, I need to get my shit together. So fast forward, I ended up moving into Barrie where nobody knows me. Like I'm starting new. I'm a new person. You know what I mean? So I was like, this is the time to like really change up my life. Like no one freaking knows me here. Like I cut off everybody from Toronto. When I say cut off, I mean, some of my best friends were messaging me like, where are you? Like you just moved. And I was like, gone. Yeah. And I was like, gone. But to be quite honest with you, like I felt like I needed to, because every person that I would talk to would just remind me of what I've gone through. And I was like, I just need to cut off that city. Like I just need to stay away, you know?
For sure.
And that's when like I started to really get into fitness, and like one thing led to another. And then I think what really pushed me was when I met Matt, because he taught me like everything I know. So he's the one that really made me like fall in love with the industry and realize that, you know, it's more mental for me than anything else. Like it's not, okay, great. Looking great is obviously a big brownie
bonus.
Yeah. Great, you know, but it's not just that. Like, I don't care if I look like complete shit. For me, it's mental. Like, I can talk to you before my workout and after my workout, and I swear to you, I'm 2 different fucking people. Like, it's insane, you know? And then, and then one day I was like, I'm going to start a business. People reach out to me being like, hey, like, you're so inspiring. Like, how do you get up in the morning? And how do you this? And I'm like, shit, I can teach people this. Like, I can teach people how to mentally just like be there, you know? And it would break my heart. And, you know, I work in retail, and it breaks my heart when there's moms, for example, and they're like, I'm a mom. And I'm like,
I know.
Yeah, so it's a mindset. It's a mindset.
Exactly. They'll be like, I'm a mom. Like, I can never. And I'm like, okay, that's great. You're a mother, but you're a woman first. Like, you know, what did that just fly out the window?
That's how you became a mom.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, people will always be like, or like, no, I can never look as like tiny as that. And I'm like, oh my God, this breaks my heart. And that's why like I get clients now that are like, oh, I can never be that size. And then when they hit that size, their whole mentality, their whole mental state just like shifts. And it's just so crazy to see like firsthand and be like, girl, I helped you get there. You know what I mean? Like, it's a good feeling. But yeah, that's my story. I feel like I just rambled on and on.
No, it's perfect.
That was so good.
That was so inspiring.
That made me so heated up.
Yeah. I know. It's like, it took me a really long time too to like even be able to tell people about it, because it's one of those things where you feel, like we said at the beginning, like you feel ashamed. You feel like, I'm that type of person where you meet me and I have this very like tough exterior almost, where like nothing bothers me. Like, you look at me and you're like, nothing bothers this girl. Like, she will punch you. Like, nothing, you know what I mean? Like, just nothing phases me, you know? I cry in silence. Like, nobody ever sees me crying. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so to like come out and be like, this happened to me, and like, yeah, I was a victim, but I don't feel that way, was like really tough, because I didn't want people feeling bad for me. And I don't want people ever feeling bad for me. Like, shit happens, guys, move the fuck on. Like, it's not the end of the world.
Sorry guys, our audio and video got interrupted, but we wanted to just finish off by saying a big thank you to Melanie for joining us on our podcast, and thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, and you can find Mel on Instagram under Mel Machado and Designer Body Fit. I think if you type that in, it will come up. And yeah, you can find everything that we spoke about today, her booty bands, and you can get in touch with her about her story or her services through IG.
All right, thanks for coming, guys, and we'll
See you next Tuesday.
Anyways, let's get on with the glow up.